5 years later, I returned to China and encountered my ex-boyfriend Nick at a dinner party, now a renowned designer. His eyes were bloodshot as he gripped my wrist tightly. "Kelly, you actually had the nerve to come back." Behind him, the first love he'd protected for 5 years stared at me with pitiful eyes. 5 years ago, a raging fire trapped both me and his first love. Without hesitation, he rushed in, yet pushed past me to rescue the woman he cherished. He left me to be swallowed by thick smoke, even hurling accusations across the flames that I was vicious, that I'd stop at nothing to have him. But that fire, it was clearly set by his first love. I was pregnant, left utterly shattered, barely escaping with my life. 5 years later, he desperately begged for my forgiveness, desperate to rekindle our past. I gave a cold laugh and shook off his hand, pointing to the twins not far away who were calling someone else daddy. "Nick, my kids can already shop for groceries. You're telling me you love me now? Don't you think it's a little too late?" My voice wasn't loud, yet it exploded like a thunderclap in the elegantly appointed banquet hall. The room fell instantly silent. Countless eyes darted back and forth between the three of us. Nick's bloodshot eyes locked onto mine, his grip on my wrist so tight it nearly crushed my bones. "Child? Whose child is it?" Behind him, Cindy's face was deathly pale as she clung weakly to the hem of his shirt. "Nick, don't do this." "Kelly, she didn't mean to. She's always like this, perpetually playing the innocent, unworldly White Lotus. 5 years ago it was, and 5 years later it still is." I couldn't be bothered with her, my gaze drifting past Nick to the distance. "Seth, Aaron, come here." The crowd automatically parted to make way. A boy in a little blue suit and a girl in a pink princess dress came running over on their short legs. Behind them followed a tall, well-built man with a gentle face. "Mommy. Mommy, who's that man? He grabbed you, he's so scary." The twins spoke in unison, their clear, childish voices tinged with wariness toward Nick. His body froze. He stared at the two children in disbelief. Those little faces, bearing 6 or 7 parts of his own likeness, felt like 2 sharp slaps, stinging him hard across the face. His hands went limp. I rubbed my reddened wrists and pulled both children close. "It's okay, just some stranger." The man behind me, Phil, stepped forward naturally, shielding me with his body. He looked at Nick with gentle firmness. "Nick, please control yourself." Nick seemed to snap out of his daze, his gaze shifting from the child's face to Phil, and finally settling on mine. That look held shock, regret, and a raging fury. "Kelly," he said, enunciating each syllable through gritted teeth, "they're my children?" I laughed. A laugh tinged with contempt and detachment. "Nick, have you forgotten? 5 years ago, you called me vicious, said the child in my womb was a bastard. You said a woman like me wasn't worthy of bearing your child. What, after 5 years, you're suddenly eager to step up as a father? Did you ever ask me, or the child, if you're worthy?" My words cut like knives, stabbing deep into his heart. His face turned as pale as paper, his lips trembled, yet not a single word escaped him. Cindy saw this and tears immediately welled up in her eyes. "Kelly, how could you say that about Nick? He's been searching for you like crazy these past 5 years. He regrets it." Shut up, I cut her off coldly. "I'm talking to him. What business is it of yours to interrupt? Or is it that the fire 5 years ago wasn't enough, and you want to play again?" At the mention of fire, Cindy's body trembled uncontrollably. A flicker of terror crossed her eyes, quickly replaced by a deep sense of grievance. "I don't know what you're talking about. Nick, my head feels so dizzy." She staggered and collapsed into Nick's arms. Nick instinctively caught her, yet his eyes never left me for a second. Those eyes that once made me lose myself now held only a pitiful plea. I found it utterly ironic. Where were you then? I couldn't be bothered to watch this farce any longer. Taking my child's hand, I said to Phil, "Let's go." "Okay," Phil replied gently, slipping his arm around my shoulder as we turned to leave with the child. "Kelly!" Nick bellowed my name, Don't you dare leave. He tried to catch up, but Phil's bodyguards blocked his path. Like a trapped beast, he roared wildly in place, drawing stares from everyone around. As for me, I didn't even turn my head. Nick, your affection and remorse have come a full 5 years too late. Inside the car, the heater was cranked up high. My daughter Erin snuggled into my arms and whispered, "Mommy, why was that man crying just now?" My son Seth added coolly, "He even cursed." What a jerk. I patted their heads and said softly, "He's just a sore loser throwing a tantrum. We don't need to pay him any mind." Phil glanced at us through the rearview mirror, his voice as gentle as ever. "Did I scare you?" I shook my head, "No, just felt unlucky. Like I'd stepped in something dirty." Phil didn't press further. He always gave me space and respect. Back home, after tucking the 2 little ones into bed, I finally let my exhaustion wash over me. Phil handed me a cup of hot milk. "Nick, he won't let this go." "I know." I took the cup, feeling its warmth against my fingertips. "I'll deal with whatever comes my way. I'm not the same Kelly I was 5 years ago." Phil looked at me, his eyes filled with concern, but more than that, admiration. "Need my help?" "Not for now," I said, taking a sip of milk. "This is between me and him. I want to handle it myself." "Alright, but don't forget, I'll always have your back." A wave of warmth washed over me, and I smiled at him. These past 5 years, if it weren't for Phil, I might never have made it through. He's been my lifeline in this foreign land, and he's the father of my child. At night, I had a dream. In the dream, it was that same fire again. Thick smoke billowed, flames raged. My leg was pinned under a fallen beam, and I couldn't move. Nick rushed in. He saw me, and he saw Cindy not far away. Without a moment's hesitation, he walked right past me and picked up Cindy. Desperately, I reached out to him, "Nick, save me, save our child." He stared at me through the flames with a look of hatred I'd never seen before. "Kelly, you're so evil. You set the fire to kill Cindy just to marry me. You and that bastard in your belly will both die here." The firelight cast a resolute silhouette of him, and the smug smile that spread across Cindy's face as she nestled in his arms. I jolted awake from the dream, drenched in cold sweat. My phone screen lit up with a text message from an unknown number. "Sister, it's been 5 years, and your designs are still as stunning as ever. I just wonder if your luck is still as strong as it was back then." Attached below the text message is a photo. It's a charred lighter. Identical to the one the police found at the fire scene all those years ago. Cindy's provocation came sooner than I'd anticipated. I clenched my phone, the last shred of warmth vanishing from my eyes. Fine. I'd been waiting for an opportunity to settle the score from 5 years ago, with interest. The next day, I dropped the kids off at kindergarten as usual. As soon as I arrived at the studio, my assistant rushed over with a look of panic on her face. "Kelly, it's bad news. Our biggest client, Fashion Group, just unilaterally announced they're terminating our contract." I stopped in my tracks. Fengshang is our most important partner since returning to China. Terminating the contract would not only mean significant financial losses but also damage our reputation in the domestic market. "What's the reason?" I asked. The assistant hesitated. They didn't specify the reason, only mentioning comprehensive considerations. "But I heard that the president of Fengshang and Nick from Gu Group were childhood friends." "It's him, after all. His methods are still as crude and overbearing as ever. Does he really think this kind of tactic will force me to give in?" I let out a cold laugh and walked into the office. "Notify the PR department to prepare a statement. It should say we respect Fengshang's decision, but regarding this blatant breach of contractual spirit, we reserve the right to pursue legal action. Also, reach out to Cole from Xingshi and tell him I'd like to take him out for dinner tonight." The assistant froze. "Xingshi? They're Fengshang's arch rivals." "Right." I fired up my computer and pulled up my backup plan. So they'll be more than happy to take over the deals Fengsheng walked away from. Nick thinks he can control everything, but I'll show him just how much I've grown these past 5 years. In the afternoon, news about Fengsheng's contract termination inevitably trended on social media. Below, a swarm of paid commenters and uninformed onlookers were all predicting the downfall of my studio. Just returned to the country and already hit a snag? Even this famous designer isn't so special after all. Must have crossed the wrong people, the domestic market isn't like overseas. Rumor has it it's due to a scandalous private life. TSK. Just then, Nick's call came through. I pressed the speakerphone button. Kelly, scared now? If you agree to my terms and come to me, I can have Fengsheng resume their partnership with you immediately. A hint of smugness tinged his breath, as if victory were already his. I chuckled softly. Nick, are you overestimating yourself? Do you really think a mere trend could strangle me? Let me tell you this, I've already made arrangements with Cole from Xingshi. We'll be launching a new collaboration soon. When that happens, who's laughing and who's crying? That's still up in the air. Silence fell on the other end of the line. I could picture Nick's stunned and furious face. Oh, right, I added slowly. I should thank you, too. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have mustered the courage to put what I have up for sale. What is it? His voice carried a hint of wariness. A little. Souvenir from that fire 5 years ago. I imagine quite a few people would be interested. After saying that, I hung up immediately. Not long after, my phone received a photo. It was taken by Nick's people. In the photo, Seth was sliding down the slide, a strand of hair caught on the edge. Immediately after, his message came through. Kelly, don't push me. I'm getting a DNA test, and you can't stop me. Looking at that photo, my heart clenched violently. The thing I feared most had finally happened. He was using the child to threaten me. I gripped my phone so tightly my knuckles turned white. Nick, you've crossed the line. Nick moved fast. Or rather, he'd been itching to get started. By the afternoon of the next day, he was already storming into my studio with a stack of documents, practically out of his skin. Staff tried to stop him, but his bodyguards shoved them aside roughly. He kicked open my office door, eyes bloodshot, like a rabid beast. Kelly! He slammed the document onto my desk. There it was in black and white, a paternity test report. The conclusion stated, 99.99% probability of a biological parent-child relationship. They're my children. How dare you deceive me? He roared, veins bulging on his forehead, his entire body trembling, whether from rage or agitation, I couldn't tell. I watched him calmly, not even glancing at the report. Because I never intended to deny it. I just didn't want to admit it. Seeing my lack of response, he grabbed my shoulders and shook me hard. Speak up. Why did you lie to me? Why did you make my child call someone else dad? What did Phil ever do for you? I'll give you double. No, 10 times more. Come back to me, and we'll be a family. A family? I finally spoke, my voice light as a feather, yet it struck his heart like a heavy blow. I lifted my eyes, my gaze holding no anger, no hatred, only a dead, silent pity. Nick, the father of my child, died in that fire 5 years ago. He froze. The man who watched helplessly as his pregnant wife was engulfed by thick smoke while he saved another woman, he died. The man who cursed me through the firewall, calling me vicious and my unborn child a bastard, he's dead too. Tell me, in what capacity do you intend to be their father? The color drained from his face inch by inch, and the grip on my shoulders went limp. I didn't know. I didn't know you were pregnant. Cindy, she. Enough. I cut off his pale excuses. None of that matters anymore. I looked at him and suddenly smiled, a faint smile, yet one that held a cruel clarity. You know what, Nick? I should even thank you now. He stared at me blankly, unable to grasp my meaning. I told him, word by word, clearly. If you hadn't been so heartless and blind back then, I might never have woken up. It was you who gave me that profound awakening. He asked instinctively, what awakening? My voice was calm and cold, like a scalpel, precisely slicing through his last shred of hope. I realized then, I never loved you. Nick's pupils suddenly contracted. I only fell in love with the illusion of being loved that you created. As an orphan, I yearned so deeply for a home, so desperately for someone to choose me without hesitation. And you happened to give me that illusion. That fire didn't burn my love, it burned my obsession. It made me see that what I was obsessed with was nothing but a false dream. And you shattered it with your own hands. So, Nick, what you're chasing now isn't your lover, it's just a stranger you hurt, who has now finally woken up. He stood frozen in place, as if drained of all strength and spirit. The paternity test report he'd thought would force me to turn back lay scattered on the floor, looking like a joke. As for me, watching his disoriented state, I felt not a single ripple of emotion. This trial, delayed for 5 years, has only just begun. My words dealt Nick a devastating blow. He left in a daze, forgetting even to take the appraisal report. The studio staff carefully cleaned up the mess, their eyes filled with awe and pity as they looked at me. That evening, Phil came to pick me up. He saw the report on my desk, said nothing, and silently fed it into the shredder. On the way back, I leaned against the car window, watching the neon lights rush past outside. Phil, am I being cruel? You only told the truth. He drove on, his voice steady. Being cruel to him is being kind to myself. I used to wonder if things would have been different had he chosen to save me back then. Now I realize they wouldn't have. A person's true nature is ingrained in their very bones. Even without that fire, there would have been another storm, another earthquake. He would always choose her over me. I just refused to admit I misjudged him. Phil pulled the car over to the side of the road, turned his head, and looked at me intently. Kelly, you didn't do anything wrong. He's the one who's wrong. You just craved warmth so badly that when someone handed you a match, you thought you'd been given the whole sun. His metaphor struck the softest spot in my heart. Yes, having grown up in an orphanage, what I craved most was love. Nick's forceful pursuit and possessive dominance felt to me at the time like the most intense love in the entire world. I flew like a moth to the flame, thinking I'd found my home. Little did I know it was just a carefully crafted trap. It's all in the past now. I took a deep breath and smiled at him. Now I have you, Seth, and Aaron, I'm content. The tenderness in his eyes was almost overflowing as he reached out to ruffle my hair. Yet the peaceful days didn't last long. Cindy's counterattack proved far more vicious than I'd imagined. Suddenly, a flood of posts and photos erupted online. In the post, I was portrayed as a scheming woman who abandoned Nick for money, only to return 5 years later with a child of unknown parentage, attempting to sabotage his relationship with Cindy. The post also included several photos that had been meticulously photoshopped. One shows me pestering Nick at the banquet. Another shows Phil shoving Nick away, as if to provoke him. The most vicious one was a photo that photoshopped Seth and Aaron's faces onto a foreign man's face, implying the child was mixed race, my illegitimate child born abroad. Public opinion exploded instantly. My studio's official website was flooded with traffic, my partner's phones were ringing off the hook, and even the parent group chat for my child's kindergarten started pointing fingers at me. Goodness gracious, so that's the kind of person that designer really is? No wonder Feng Sheng terminated the contract, they must have seen through her true colors long ago. Cindy's the one who's truly pitiful, waiting for 5 years only to have the real deal return and start causing trouble. The child is so unfortunate, being used as a pawn in her climb to the top. Vicious comments flooded in relentlessly. Cindy's move was clearly designed to nail me to the pillar of shame, ruining my reputation completely. My assistant was frantic. Kelly, we need to issue a statement to clarify immediately. If this keeps up, our fledgling business will be destroyed. I stared at those vile comments, my gaze unusually calm. Don't rush. If she wants to play the public opinion game, I'll play it with her to the end. I pulled out my phone and dialed a number. Hello, is this reporter Zhang? This is Kelly. I'd like to host a new product launch event and, by the way, address the recent rumors. Yes, I have something here I'd like everyone to appreciate. My new product launch is set for 3 days from now. The moment the invitations went out, they drew the attention of every media outlet in town. Everyone wants to know how I, a designer at the center of the storm, will fight back. Nick received an invitation too. He called me personally to ask about it. Kelly, what exactly are you trying to do? By holding this press conference, are you trying to expose the children to the media too? His tone carried a hint of impatience and unease. I replied coolly, isn't this exactly what you wanted? It proves they're your children. What a glorious moment for you, Nick. That's not what I meant, he explained urgently. I don't want them to get hurt. Now you say you don't want them to get hurt? Where were you when Cindy photoshopped their pictures beyond recognition and spread them all over the internet? One word from me, and I shut him up. Nick, keep your cheap fatherly love to yourself. You can't protect them, I will. On the day of the launch event, the venue was packed to capacity, with flashes lighting up the room. Dressed in a sharp black suit, I walked onto the stage with confidence. Following the agenda, I began by introducing my new collection, Nirvana. On the large screen, one exquisite gown after another was displayed, each drawing inspiration from the phoenix rising from the ashes. Following the presentation, it was time for the questions and answers session with reporters. Sure enough, the first question was incredibly pointed. Kelly, are the rumors circulating online about your private life true? Did you really return to China this time with the intention of sabotaging the relationship between Mr. Nick and Miss Cindy? I took the microphone and scanned the room. Nick sat in the front row, glaring at me with a dark expression. Cindy hadn't shown up, probably feeling certain of victory. She couldn't be bothered to come watch my last-ditch struggle. I smiled faintly. Before answering that question, I'd like everyone to listen to a recording. I pressed play. The room instantly fell silent. After a crackle of static, a muffled yet shrill female voice emerged from the speakers. That voice, hoarse from the thick smoke, was still unmistakably his. He would be mine. Kelly. Even if I burned this place down, he would only save me. You and your bastard child deserve to die here. The recording was brief, consisting of only 2 disjointed sentences. In the background, the crackling of burning wood and faint cries could be heard. The scene erupted in chaos. All the reporters went wild, flashes blindingly flashing, shutter sounds ringing out in a deafening chorus. What is this? Is this the audio recording from that infamous fire 5 years ago? Who is the woman in the recording? Is it Cindy? What did she say? Did she say she was going to burn the place down? And mention a bastard? The sheer volume of information was overwhelming, everyone's brain went into overload. I watched Nick's face turn suddenly ashen below the stage, his eyes filled with shock and disbelief. I spoke calmly, offering the final commentary for this recording. This recording was accidentally captured by my phone 5 years ago when I was trapped in a fire. Due to equipment damage, the audio quality is poor, and only these few seconds could be recovered. As for who the woman in the recording is and what she's saying, I trust everyone will form their own judgment. Now, I can address the question posed by the reporter earlier. I looked straight into the camera, speaking each word with deliberate force. I, Kelly, have never, and will never, destroy anyone's relationship. Especially not the relationship of an attempted murderer and arsonist. The press conference ended, but the nuclear bomb of public opinion had only just been detonated. That grainy recording spread like a virus across the internet. Though it couldn't be used as legal evidence, it successfully planted a seed of doubt in the public's mind. This twist? So it wasn't Kelly who set the fire, it was Cindy? Creepy when you think about it. If the recording is real, has Cindy been putting on an act all these years? Was Nick blind? Saving the arsonist while ruining his wife and child? My heart aches for Kelly. What kind of suffering is this? The tide turned overnight. Cindy's name is now inextricably linked with the words arsonist. I can only imagine her madness and terror right now. Sure enough, that very evening, Nick called me. His voice was weary and hoarse, tinged with an almost imperceptible tremor. The recording, is it real? What do you think? I countered. A long silence followed on the other end of the line. Finally, as if he'd drained every last ounce of strength, he said, Cindy, she's sick. Her mental state is very unstable. What happened back then, she might. Sick? I snorted coldly. Nick, at this point, you're still making excuses for her? Why didn't she get sick when she set fires and killed people? Why didn't she get sick when she stole my child's photos and spread lies about me? The moment trouble hits, she suddenly falls ill? How could things be that easy? I'm not making excuses for her. His voice suddenly rose. I just want to get to the truth. The truth is, the woman you've loved for 5 years is a scheming, poisonous bitch. And you? You're the fool who's been aiding and abetting her. I tore away his last shred of dignity without mercy. Nick, you come asking me for the truth now? Too late. The moment you chose to save her 5 years ago, you forfeited your right to know the truth forever. I hung up and blocked his number completely. Meanwhile, at the Gu family mansion, Nick burst into Cindy's room. She was sitting on the carpet, frantically tearing at a pillow, sending fluff flying everywhere. Seeing him enter, she flung herself into his arms like a startled rabbit. Nick. Believe me. It wasn't me. Kelly framed me. That recording was fabricated. She was weeping like a broken doll, looking utterly pitiful. That look had always easily stirred Nick's protective instincts over the past 5 years. But this time, as Nick looked at her, an unfamiliar chill surged through him. Kelly's words echoed in his mind like a curse. The woman you've loved for 5 years is a scheming, poisonous viper. He slowly pushed her away, looking at the woman he'd protected for 5 years with a scrutinizing gaze for the first time. Cindy, tell me, what really happened in that fire 5 years ago? Cindy's body froze. As she saw the doubt in his eyes, her heart sank. She knew she was about to lose him. No, she couldn't lose him. Her eyes darted around, and a plan formed in her mind. Nick, I remember now. She was clutching her head, looking in agony. It was Kelly. She was the one with the lighter. She said if she couldn't have you, she'd destroy you. I was so scared, that's why I said all those crazy things. She began twisting the truth, resorting to her old tricks. But she didn't notice that Nick's gaze had turned completely cold. The person he'd sent to reinvestigate the fire had just sent him a report. Records indicate that traces of an accelerant were found at the original point of ignition. Meanwhile, Cindy was photographed outside a chemical supply store the day before the fire. Watching Cindy still putting on a show, Nick felt a wave of nausea wash over him. He turned and walked away. Nick. Where are you going? Cindy panicked, wrapping her arms around him from behind. Let go. I won't let you go. Are you going to that bitch Kelly? I won't let you. She looked like she was going crazy. Nick pushed her hand away in disgust. Cindy, you're on your own. He left without looking back, leaving Cindy alone in the empty room, where she let out a shrill, piercing scream. A flash of venom and madness flickered in her eyes. Kelly, if I can't have it, then I'll destroy it. I'll destroy the thing you care about most. Danger always strikes when you least expect it. It was Parachild Activity Day at the kindergarten. Phil and I were playing games with Seth and Aaron on the lawn. The sun was shining brightly, and the children's laughter rang out like silver bells. Watching their carefree faces, I felt that all the hardships of the past 5 years had been worth it. Midway through, I went to buy ice cream. Phil stayed with the kids, playing a game of tag. Just as I turned around, a black van suddenly sped onto the lawn and screeched to a halt beside the children. The car door swung open, and two masked men leaped out. One grabbed Seth and the other grabbed Aaron, covering their mouths as they forcibly dragged them into the vehicle. It all happened in the blink of an eye. Seth. Aaron. Phil was the first to react, lunging forward, only to be struck hard on the arm by one of the men wielding a stun baton. Instantly paralyzed, he collapsed to the ground. The ice cream in my hand fell to the floor, and my blood froze in my veins. No. I rushed over like a madman, but the van had already slammed its doors shut and sped madly across the lawn, vanishing into the distance. My world, in that instant, came crashing down. Ah! I let out the most piercing scream of my life. The parents and children around us were all terrified. Phil gritted his teeth through the excruciating pain, crawled to his feet, and pulled me into his arms as I was on the verge of breaking down. He immediately pulled out his phone to call the police. "Kelly, calm down. Calm down." How can I calm down? My child. My life. They've been snatched away. My phone started vibrating wildly. It was an unknown number. With trembling hands, I pressed the answer button. On the other end, Cindy's cold, triumphant laughter rang out. "Kelly, your child is adorable." "Cindy!" I screamed with every ounce of strength I had left. "What have you done to my children? If you dare harm a single hair on their heads, I'll haunt you for eternity." "Don't get so worked up," she said slowly. "Want to see your child? Come to the abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of town. The one we stayed in 5 years ago. Remember, come alone. If you dare to call the police or bring anyone with you," her voice turned suddenly vicious, "I'll chop off one of your son's fingers and mail it to you." The phone went dead. All the strength drained from my body, and I collapsed limp in Phil's arms. Fear, like an invisible giant hand, clutched my heart in a death grip. That warehouse again. The place that buried all my nightmares. Phil's face turned ashen as he tried to calm me down while quickly communicating with the police officer on the phone. "Got it," I said. "Send me the location. We're heading out immediately." After hanging up, he cupped my face, forcing me to look at him. "Kelly, listen to me, you can't go alone. It's a trap." "But what can I do?" Tears streaming down my face, she said she'd chop off Seth's fingers. "I can't afford to lose this bet. We've called the police. They'll be setting up a perimeter. But you need to cooperate, you need to keep her calm." Phil's words hit me like a bucket of cold water, bringing a flicker of clarity back to my muddled mind. Right, I can't panic. My child is still waiting for me. I wiped away my tears, stood up from the ground, and my gaze hardened once more. Fine. I'll go. I'll go see her and settle the score from 5 years ago once and for all. In the abandoned warehouse, a musty, stale odor mingled with a faint whiff of burned ash. It felt as though the lingering scent of that fire 5 years ago had never truly dissipated. Alone, I pushed open the creaking iron door. In the center of the warehouse, Seth and Aaron were bound to 2 pillars, their mouths taped shut. When they saw me, they whimpered and shook their heads frantically, their eyes filled with terror. Cindy stood beside them, twirling a red lighter in her hand. She saw me and twisted her mouth into a grimace. "You're here, Kelly." She'd lost so much weight, her eyes sunken and wild, all traces of her former softness gone. "Let my child go." My voice was ice cold, holding back a raging storm of fury. "Let them go?" She felt like she'd heard the biggest joke in the world. "Why? Kelly, why do you get everything? Why did Nick abandon me the moment you came back? It's all your fault. If you'd died 5 years ago, everything would have been mine." She screamed hysterically, blaming me for everything. Watching her frantic state, I felt an unexpected calm wash over me. "Cindy, you're truly pathetic. You never understood that Nick doesn't love you, not because of me, but because you yourself are simply not worthy of love. Shut up." My words provoked her, and she lunged forward, trying to hit me. I was ready for it and sidestepped her blow. "Think you've won?" I looked at her, a cold smile curling my lips. Think you'll walk out of here today? Cindy froze. I slowly raised my phone. On the screen was a live streaming interface. The viewer count was rapidly climbing. When you called me, Phil had already alerted the police. Moreover, he set my phone to live stream synchronously. Every word of our conversation just now, along with your ugly face, has been laid bare for everyone to see. Cindy's face drained of color in an instant. She stared at my phone in disbelief, her body beginning to tremble. No. It couldn't be. Nothing is impossible. I'm closing in on her step by step. You love acting, don't you? Today, I built you the grandest stage of all. Let everyone see how this Oscar-winning actress was made. Ah. Cindy completely lost it. She stared at me, her eyes blazing with suicidal fury. She flicked her lighter, and a ghostly blue flame shot up. Instead of charging at me, she spun around and lunged at Seth and Aaron, who were tied to the pillar. I'll take you all down with me. No. My eyes bulged as I charged forward without a second thought. Just as the situation reached a critical juncture, the warehouse door was kicked open. A dark figure burst in at astonishing speed. It was Nick. He shot past me like a bolt of lightning, violently shoving Cindy away just before her lighter could touch the dry grass on the child. The lighter flew from her hand and landed on the ground. Nick, in an effort to shield me, slammed his back against the nearby metal rack. Sharp rebar tore through his expensive suit, leaving a long, bloody gash across his back. The wail of sirens grew louder as it approached. Police officers burst in, pinning Cindy to the floor as she lay sprawled, writhing like a madwoman. I rushed over, frantically undoing the ropes binding the children. Seth. Aaron. Don't be afraid. Mommy's here. The two children threw themselves into my arms and burst into tears. Holding them close, my heart ached unbearably. Amid the chaos, I saw Nick leaning against the wall, his face pale, the blood on his back staining his white shirt crimson. He looked at the three of us, mother and children, his gaze complex, filled with relief, anguish, and a hint of release. This time, he didn't pass me by. This time, he saved us. But what difference did it make? Justice delayed and protection delayed are equally cheap. Cindy was taken away. What awaits her is the full force of the law. Her live-streamed videos of kidnapping and attempted arson serve as irrefutable evidence. Nick was also sent to the hospital. The wound on his back is deep and requires stitches. I brought the frightened children home after giving our statements. Phil stayed with us the whole time. His arm wound had been treated, thankfully just a superficial cut. The two little ones cried themselves to sleep and now lay fast asleep in my arms. Watching their peaceful sleeping faces, my heart finally settled. The next day, Nick's assistant found me. Kelly, Nick wants to see you. I didn't want to go. But I thought, it was time to put an end to this. The hospital room reeked of disinfectant. Nick, clad in a hospital gown, leaned against the headboard, his complexion even worse than yesterday. Spotting me, he struggled to sit up. Don't move. I stood several paces away, my tone distant. He gave a wry smile and lay back down. A long silence settled between us. Finally, he was the one to speak first. I'm sorry. Those 3 words came out with immense difficulty, yet they were utterly sincere. For what happened 5 years ago, and for these past 5 years. I listened quietly. I have already had my lawyer draft the documents. He looked at me with an unprecedented calm in his eyes. I will transfer 60% of my shares in Goo Corporation to Seth and Aaron as compensation. I will also announce publicly that I am stepping down indefinitely from the management of Goo Group. From now on, I will no longer interfere in your lives. I'm somewhat surprised. This is practically equivalent to him giving up everything he has. You don't have to. This is what I owe you. He interrupted me. Kelly, you were right that day. I never truly understood you, nor did I understand what love is. I was just a selfish, foolish bastard. I don't ask for your forgiveness. I only hope the kids will be okay. The bloodshot veins in his eyes were more pronounced than they had been at the banquet that day. This once arrogant man had finally been utterly crushed by reality, learning to repent. As I watched him, the heavy weight that had been pressing on my heart for 5 years seemed to finally lift. It wasn't forgiveness, but letting go. "Nick," I said softly, "goodbye." With that, I turned and walked out of the hospital room without a single glance back. Outside, the sun was shining brightly. Phil was leaning against the car, smiling at me. I walked toward him and smiled too. It was the kind of smile that came from deep within, light-hearted, as if all burdens had been lifted. "Everything sorted out?" he asked. "Yeah, everything sorted out." I got into the car and fastened my seatbelt. A cheerful song was playing on the radio. I looked out the window at the city, vibrant under the sunlight. My phone buzzed. It was a video from the kindergarten teacher. Seth and Aaron had returned to school, laughing and playing happily with the other children in the sunshine. I showed the video to Phil. He leaned in to watch, then took my hand. His palm was warm and dry, radiating a comforting strength. I turned to look at him, sunlight falling on his gentle eyes and brows. "Phil. Let's get married." He froze, then immense joy burst from his eyes. He squeezed my hand tightly, his voice trembling slightly with excitement. "Okay." The car merged into the flow of traffic, heading toward a sunlit future. As for Nick, as for the past, they would become a chapter in my life that had been thoroughly turned over. My life was just beginning.